We are in for a treat today. I have a very special guest, and this is somebody that we have been connected for a few years online. We have not had the pleasure of meeting in person yet. However, I'm planting that seed that it will happen. She was one of those voices that I kept going back to, specifically around politics, around the craziness, around what was happening in our world that was falling apart. This voice was one that really stood out to me. Her content is funny, it's witty, it's clever, it's hyper intelligent, it's very academic, and the way that she lives her life is super, super cool. I'm really excited for this episode. I had the joy and pleasure of interviewing Mrs. Karla Treadway. She is a marketing strategist, the host of the Sovereign Sphere podcast, and she is a wild bushwoman living on an island in northwestern Ontario. We have a good time in this conversation. We go into a range of things, helping you be free, helping you be sovereign, helping you shift perspectives about what's going on in the world, helping you really see behind the veil. And we even bring in, no, I'm not even going to tell you. I'm not even going to tell you, but we bring in some real beautiful goodies, and you're going to have to just find out for yourself. So, with that being said, welcome back to another episode of Sovereign with Samantha Lotus. Karla, this has been a long time in the making. I have been a fan of yours on the Instagram. Went from Dubai, watching you be a warrior in Canada and saying all the things that everybody needed to hear. You were the voice of reason. I was like, yes, I'm not alone in my ways and the ways that I see the world. And just watching your journey, Karla, and everything that you do and who you are, right down to, how you live and what you just told me about having to wait for the ice to freeze over before going home. You're just such a unique and interesting, inspiring human, and I am really excited to have you on today.
Hey, thanks for having me. And yeah, back at you. I think you were one of the first people that I found in this space as well. And it was so life-giving at that time, like during COVID days, to find any voice that you may be aligned with that was on the same page. It was really, really rare back then.
Yeah, COVID was so interesting, and I think we start there because that's where a big awakening journey for a lot of people really
Mhm.
happened. And for me, everybody I know is anti-vax. Like all my friends, everybody I know, I'm in the holistic health world. Literally every human I know is
Mhm.
anti-vax. And then I was traveling during that time. I came back to Canada thinking, that everyone in the world knows the same things that I do, and seeing how crazy it was, and seeing the conditioning, and seeing like the opposition and the matrix. It was so clear to me at that time. It kind of really made me realize that I live in a bubble, and that's not how the rest of the world lives and operates. And so, yeah, finding voices like yours or being able to share in those spaces, the few of us that were willing to speak our minds, it was
Mhm.
a really crazy time.
I mean, I didn't know right away, and I love that that's been my experience of knowing I know exactly how the other side feels. I was, like, a hardcore liberal all my life. I had a yoga studio at the time. I was laughing at, like, my own marketing. I was, like, looking through my Canva and looking at the old marketing for the studio, and I had, like, the black square, and I had an evening for woke women, and I was very
Wow.
much, like, of the left. I thought conservatives were evil capitalists, and I didn't really
Yeah.
think a lot about vaccines, but I had them. I had them. I had given them to my children who are 13 and 16 now, and in the beginning of COVID, I didn't like the anti-vaxxers. I was like, "Oh, yeah,
Mm,
your freedoms are being taken away." That was me. I actually thought that.
wow.
I was
That's
slow out of the gate.
Oh, okay. Well, we have to get into your story there because this is really potent, and I love that you're sharing that. I too was extremely liberal. I didn't know politics at all. I grew up not
Mhm.
caring at all. I didn't know what a conservative was or liberal was, but I had voted liberal my entire life. I was
Mhm.
so pro Justin Trudeau. He was gorgeous to me. I loved him. I was all about it. I was at every gay pride parade. I had pink hair and
Yep,
tattoos and all the
same.
piercings, and I
I
I
had
was I
Justin
was that.
Trudeau yoga pants.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Awful,
Okay, I love that.
awful.
But I was anti-vax and natural medicine, and I
Yep,
thought that was a liberal thing. I like, back in the day, 15 years ago, that was a liberal thing to eat organically and be, a bit more
yeah.
granola. That was liberal, and then in 2021, I realized that all the beliefs that I had, which were always liberal, are now considered hardcore alt-right. And
Yeah.
I'm like, and then I learned what a conservative was. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm that thing." And it was weird. It's like the culture really shifted.
Yeah, yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, I was a hardcore liberal without actually even really knowing a lot about what that meant. I was the
Same.
kind of person that would just listen to the bulk of Canadians and listen to the news, and I would just believe what they told me. Um,
Yeah.
and having
Because
a really
that's what
strong
it is to be a good Canadian.
Yeah, exactly. So having a really strong feeling about this, but, like, I didn't know what I was talking about, and now I've nerded out on it for the last 5 years, but, yeah, at the time, like, yeah, I'm so grateful I was a sleepy person, 'cause I get it. I get the arrogance, I get the feelings around it, and I love calling it out now, and who better to do it than somebody that was, like, actually in that space, and, the only thing that got
Yeah.
me out of it was questions. 2 things happened, but one of my very good friends started getting more and more upset during COVID, and she's really smart. She's in technology, she's a professionally trained therapist, um, very intelligent woman, and she started getting more and more upset, and I thought, "Oh, my poor friend, she's lost her mind. I'll talk her off this ledge." So, I was just having more and more conversations with her. She was just asking me more and more very gentle questions that I just didn't have an answer to. I remember one being, like, clearly they were at this metric where they wanted, like, 100% of people vaccinated before they'd open up the world, and I remember her asking, "So when does all of Afghanistan get vaccinated?" Like, that was just, like, one of
Mm.
many, like, it's not happening.
Yeah.
So, when are we actually opening
Yeah.
up? And the second thing that happened, like, that was a process. The second thing that happened was one of the doctors who was very famous out at, like, the Convoy, he happened to stay at my in-laws'
Yeah.
bed and breakfast. And I started getting really, really sick with COVID, and he told my in-laws who had told him that I was sick. Like, I was getting, like, dizzy, like, in and out of consciousness, like, I was really sick. And he said, like, "No
Yeah.
matter what, make sure she never takes the vaccine." And he wrote me a whole list of drugs to take, including ivermectin, doxycycline. There was, like, 8 different things on that list. I talked to him on the phone. He made it clear that this was gonna be given to me through an underground pharmacy. And
Wow.
within 30 minutes of me taking ivermectin, all the symptoms went away. And I remember thinking, "Interesting. This is the world's deadliest pandemic, and they're saying if you get it, if you actually get sick, we're not gonna give you anything. Just stay home until you can't breathe, and then we'll put you on a ventilator, and then you die." Meanwhile, there was this whole
Yeah.
list of drugs that this man just gave me that's being blocked that actually helps. Okay, like, that was it. That was it, and then I spent the entire weekend, probably, like, 80 hours, watching every documentary ever made in history about every single topic from then on, and that was, like, the beginning of the end for me.
I love when you just launch yourself face first into the rabbit hole and like Alice in Wonderland, there's just no coming back from it. You were
No.
transformed on the other side. Wow, that's powerful. I remember during COVID, I was living in California and then I got married and left the country right before the doors closed for the next 2 years. And I traveled to 16 different countries during 2020 and 2021. And it was so wild to me just to see how each country was so different. The people were so different, the interactions, the propaganda, the media. And I remember that really opened my eyes. I remember being in South Africa, where my husband's from,
Yep.
and speaking to the Black people there, which normally white and Black people don't really communicate very much in South Africa. And I remember I was not wearing a mask, and the Black people would look at me and they'd be like, "Hey, hey." "What do you think about the vaccine?" And I'm like, "I didn't take it." And they're like, "I didn't take it either." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm smart." And then they're like, "Yeah, we're Black. That's a white person thing." We're like, "We know. We don't trust the government. We're smarter
Yeah.
than that." And I was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
wow." And then I had a different experience where, again, we were living in Spain, and there's a little country called Gibraltar, which is a
Mhm.
little British country, but it's at the base of Spain, and they had 100% vaccination rate because it's a little island secluded with one road to get out, and they were able to vaccinate 100% of their citizens. And they had the worst rates of COVID and COVID deaths after full vaccination. And I
Man.
remember living a half an hour drive from Gibraltar and thinking, interesting. Interesting. So I got to see such a cool perspective and then come home to Canada after 2 years of traveling
Yep.
and have the most weird experiences of people screaming at me in grocery stores for not wearing masks and friends cutting me out of their life for not vaccinating, even though they were 3 times vaccinated. And I'm like, this does not make sense. And it made me really see just how conditioned Canadians are.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have the boiling frog scenario, that a lot of people have, like, in seeing these changes. It's really obvious to me because I literally live in the forest. We're, like, the only ones living on this island. It's not hard for me to get to town. Winnipeg's the closest city, it's 2 hours away, but I really see how culture and people have dramatically shifted anytime I actually bother to get myself out of the forest. Every time I'm like, "Oh my god, this is actually what the world is like and what people are like." I can't believe it.
Yeah, yeah, you have such a unique life. I love watching your Instagram. We're gonna put Carla's Instagram down below in the show notes. You have to watch it. But I know you're like boating out, into your home and just it's so cool. So tell us a little bit about you for those of us listening that don't know you. Give us your backstory. What about you? Give us a little glimmer into your life, what you do, what you're passionate about. Let us learn about you, Carla.
Yeah, for sure. So, I'm a bit of a serial entrepreneur. I've run many different types of businesses. My husband and I have a construction company. We have Airbnbs. I've had online businesses, network marketing businesses. My favorite one that I've ever had was Movement Studio, and I had a yoga and fitness studio in my town here. It was the biggest fitness studio that has ever lived. Super popular. We did lots of stuff for the community. I ran youth programs. I worked with First Nation communities. I was actually just about to launch a teacher training program that was just going to train First Nation teachers to go back and help their communities when the pandemic hit. And, we were forced to close our doors for about 18 months. My awakening was starting to happen during this time period. And I started saying wild things online, like, we shouldn't judge people for their personal medical decisions. At, like, that time, I was that's about as far as I pushed it, and the day I even said that thing, I lost every single friend, every single client, every single customer, every single Instagram follower, not like it mattered, but I think I had, like, 5,000 that I'd worked so hard for during my career, and it went down to, like, 1,000. And I remember sitting at, like, the
Wow.
bottom of, like, basically about to be bankrupted by lockdowns, like, losing, like, $80,000. Now I have no friends, no clients, no money, and I remember sitting at the bottom of that pit and thinking, "Well, I guess at least I have, like, my integrity, and that will have to do," and it felt terrible. Like, I was glad I had my integrity, but that felt really shitty and really alone, and the right people just kinda started coming around me. Maybe I put myself in the right circles, I don't know, but people just encouraged me to keep going, keep keep doing this, keep saying the right things. And I chose to close my business. We packed up everything and we moved to our cabin, which we only were to stay there in the summer normally. And my husband bought his plane license. We got like 5 freezers, which we fill with moose meat and venison and fish. And we have giant gardens that we built out there. And now we live pretty separate from most of society. We're not off grid, but we could be. And I transitioned more to the online space, helping other people make money, helping other people build their brands, helping other people build businesses, um, and really just do what I did. Not just make money, but keep making money and build a business that doesn't kill you in the process. One where you're not walking on eggshells around clients, one where you don't stop using your voice, and also one that's practically safe from government overreach. And there's lots of different ways that we can do that. And I just went heavier down this truth pathway. I worked for a documentary team that went out to the truckers convoy, started working with different media organizations, different events in Canada that was helping maintain freedom in this country. And that's kind of where we're at now. I have a podcast called The Sovereign Sphere, where I interview doctors, healers, business builders, politicians in this space, people that are positive spheres of influence. And I continue to use my voice, and I continue just to help people make money in the online space and build their own brands using their voice.
Mm, and that's why we have you on today, because that's really what it's about. It's about breaking free from the matrix, breaking free from the way that we're conditioned that it's meant to be. And that's not horrible for everybody. A lot of people love that.
Mhm.
But for the people who know that they're here for something different, who know that they're here for a different way of life, one that is more in integrity with who they really are and with their soul and their mission and their purpose, I don't see any other way than helping people become entrepreneurs, being and independent, time independent, financially independent, location independent if they want, so that they're not reliant on a paycheck or on the government or on their employer or on somebody else to dictate all of their lives and put them in these confines. There just is such a different way. And what I love is that people are really waking up to that, wanting that, craving it, and then actually
Mhm.
taking action to make it happen. It's such a
100%.
cool time.
In a small town especially, there's so much money, there's so much opportunity if you wanna work for the government, especially if you wanna work in First Nation communities, there's just, money being thrown around. So, you could easily get, a six-figure government job doing absolutely nothing. I'm sorry, absolutely nothing. And that's really appealing because
Yeah.
growing a business it's hard. It is not easy. But are you willing to sacrifice yourself, your purpose, your ability to use your voice in the process? Some people will, but you can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing for people that really love comfort and stability, even though there's definitely an illusion of that stability and comfort, but that's great. For
Mhm.
for myself and the people and you and the people that we attract that are just like, "No, I cannot be put in a box. I cannot be told when to eat and what to do and what to say and not what not to say and how to wear my hair and how to put on a mask," both literally and
Yeah.
figuratively, and how to be in this confine. It's just I know that the people that we attract and we talk to, their souls are screaming in that environment. And
Mhm.
what's so cool is that there is a different way. And I love that you do that. When I started following you, it was a Sovereign CEO, and I know we just had a rebrand. And also, I've been
Mhm.
following your energetic shifts and some of the ways I feel like emotional as well, maybe even spiritual, if I may
Mm.
be so bold to say. And I'd love to hear you talk about the brand change and then also the energetic change that I'm seeing.
Oh, man, the last few years they've just been a lot, and the reason that I rebranded from CEO is I just wanted to take the shift off of myself. So, me being
Mm.
the CEO, and I wanted to put it on, everybody, including positive influences because I've spent the last few years bringing on, amazing guests to talk about all the problems and the things that need light shed on them, and we still do that, but we're kind of in a space now where personally, I don't need to know anything else. There's nothing new that I need to know about. I know it's messed up. And what I care about more, whether it's the show or politics, I don't care about an idea or an ideology. I only care about the outcome. So, personally, I should don't care if it's liberal or conservative. I care about the outcome. So when it came
Yeah.
to the show and it came to these conversations and it came to even like the content, what's the outcome? What's this doing to people? And
Yeah.
I just see a lot of people that are really stuck in the dark. I see a lot of content
Mhm.
creators profiting from rage baiting, from fear mongering. And look, I have been guilty. I do it too, but it's never my intention. I know our YouTube channel would blow up if I doubled down on what was mean and polarizing, and I just don't want to do that. I would rather bring on David Charalambos to talk about having peaceful dialogue, and it's not gonna get attention, but there's a better outcome there, and
Yeah.
I think we're in a new time, and I think it's really sad when people are stuck in what happened with COVID, and I'm not saying we should move on because there still hasn't been, there still hasn't been justice for that. I'm not saying get over it or forget about it. I'm saying if you can't find a reason to be happy and purpose-led and profitable right now, then your beliefs aren't serving you. That there are sleepy people and people that aren't awake right now that are doing much better than you. They're volunteering in their community. They have a job. They have a happy marriage. So who even cares if we know things, if we're miserable, if we're scared, if we're not moving forward? So I've been trying to balance at least the tough conversations and the things that are going on with things that actually support people. And I don't know, maybe what differentiates me in this space is I have no attachment to things having to go a certain way. I see possibilities. I see some really bad possibilities. I also see a situation where it's totally possible where none of the bad things we're worried about are even going to happen at all. It's like one foot in reality, one foot in the matrix. So I mean, we live on an island. We're basically preppers in that sense. Like the world could shut down Mad Max style and we would be totally fine. Guns, bullets, gardens, fires, like that's fine. But I'm also invested in normal stocks and real estate and I'm building a business and I'm traveling because this is a really weird time and space. And we're not meant to be angry and scared, and I spent 2 years of my life like that. I'm a mom.
Mhm.
I I don't want my
Mhm.
kids to remember me like that, scared and angry and political, like, I want them to see me happy and living life, even if that means that I joke sometimes, like, if you're going out to, like, a city to go shopping or, like, to a party, I'm like, "I'm gonna go live in the Matrix for a while. We're just gonna go have fun." I know it's fake, but whatever. I'm gonna go and have fun out there. And that's not what I'm seeing a lot of in line. People are dedicated to being miserable, dedicated to it,
Yeah.
dedicated to the idea that we're screwed. And I'm like, "Why would you be dedicated to that? Sounds awful."
Yeah. Yeah, I really believe that we are co-creators of this reality, and where we invest our time, our energy, and our focus, we help to literally bring in and manifest and create into this reality. And apathy and fear and anger are big prisons, and they keep us stuck in victimhood. And even when we're angry, we don't think we're victims, but we are. If we were stuck in anger, you are stuck in victimhood. You are stuck in the illusion. You are stuck in a lower vibration energy. And what are you going to create from that space? What are you going to attract from that space? And
Mhm,
I was there. My gosh, in 2021, I just lost my best friend, my grandma. She was my soulmate. She died right after my grandpa died, right after the vaccine. Shortly after, my great auntie, my great uncle, and my dad, all within a few years. And I lost so
mhm,
there, I lost so much. And there was the whole I was so angry, and the content I was creating came from that anger, the passion and the fire. And yes, I did get to create things. However, everybody that I was attracting into my space was angry, and all the
mhm,
thousands of messages getting every single week, because my brand was blowing up, was other angry people sharing with me their anger. And I realized, ooh,
mhm.
this is it can be addicting. You're getting validated and you're growing and you're connecting. And I'm like, oh, wow, I'm creating all these trauma bonds through this anger. And so And then I actually got canceled really, really intensely, which was perfect because I knew that that
Yeah.
happened because of the collective energy that I was going through. So I got to take
Mhm.
a year off, a year offline, a year off coaching, and just get back, get into perspective, and really ask myself, what am I invested in? What kind of reality am I co creating? And yes, like you said, there is a balance. I think it's still important to speak to these different things
Mhm.
and be more focused on what people can actually do about it and the solutions that we can provide for the ideal outcomes that we want.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's individual, but I've thought about the other idea, like, where I just disconnect completely and only focus on what's positive. Like, there's a lot of cool people in this world that are doing just that. I can't. That feels like committing to the matrix full time. That feels really weird to me to pretend like there are no problems. And I'm a Christian, so I've been thinking about that a lot, like, biblically too, because I think a lot of pastors, a lot of people in church, I'm not shitting on church, will focus on the peacemaking. And I've been thinking about that thought, like, um, is this wrong? Should I be focusing on the peacemaking? But then when I actually look at, like, Jesus and the disciples, Jesus
Yeah.
didn't refrain from any conversation. He wasn't political per se, but he said everything that needed to be said. He flipped tables. Yes, he was also peaceful. And all of his disciples, they all died. They were thrown in prison, they were beheaded. And I'm like, "Oh, they didn't say, 'Actually, let's just save this for church and, like, let's just keep the peace.'" That's not what they did. They
Yeah.
were truth tellers, they were troublemakers, and they were willing to have their heads chopped off for it. So now I
Yeah.
actually see, like, what I'm doing with boundaries, not going in
Yeah.
intentionally polarizing. I think that actually is the way, and just being peaceful is kinda spiritually bypassing.
Absolutely. Bringing it back to Jesus, he said, I brought a sword. And
Mhm.
when he said, I did not come to unite you, I came to divide you, divide families. And when I'm reading that, I'm like, whoa, Jesus came to divide us. Yeah, because there's
Mhm.
good and evil. And I'm seeing that. And like, this is what my eyes have been open to. Going into COVID, I was atheist. I've been atheist,
Wow.
spiritual, woo woo, for a long time. And talked to the universe, and I'd studied Buddhism and Hinduism and all of the isms and all of the
Same.
philosophies. But
Mhm.
I did not have a relationship with Jesus. I did not have a relationship with God or any of that. And COVID really brought that in so intensely. And so reading my Bible and going through, it's opening my eyes to what the truth of Jesus's mission was here. And that
Mhm.
is so interesting. I feel like I'm being inspired by that as well, because peace on earth and bringing in the kingdom, if you want to say it, is not just being kumbaya and loving and hugging each other and spiritually bypassing. There's some real hard conversations that have to be had. And then there are some people that need to be put in their place and things
Yep.
that need to be reorganized and rearranged if they're out of alignment. And yeah, it's been really cool to learn more about that.
That's me in the comment section all the time. If somebody gets upset about, like, something that's being said in a podcast clip, I'll say, "Yeah, but is it true? I understand that this
Mm.
upsets you, but is it true? Because if it's true, we gotta talk about it, we have to deal with it."
Yeah, that's what I've been committed to, is just committed to the truth and committed to, like, what I want my truth to be, what I want the truth of the world to be, what I like, just this irreverence for sharing the truth, but then also being aware of the energetics and what I'm co-creating and what the outcome is and what the goal is. It's been
Mhm.
really cool to have this new North Star, not to just be angry or create revolution or, talk shit about things that upset me, but to really help people align to a higher truth
Mhm.
so that we can, not everybody, but the people that are awake and wanting, that we can create something better for this planet. We live on the most beautiful planet. We have the
Mhm.
most potential. We are infinitely powerful beings, and what we can create together, how we can collaborate and cross-pollinate and what we can make on this world is euphoria.
Mhm.
And like that's what I'm committed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
somehow figuring out how we're able to talk to one another again. I don't know if it's possible without war at this point. I don't know. I've had many encounters lately with people that really disagree with me ideologically, and we've been able to talk and understand each other
Yeah.
because we were kind of forced into a situation together, and it's good. It's healthy when that happens, but we have a lot of work to do to undo the damage that was done to us. I guess the hill that I've been dying on lately is really just attacking mainstream media because it's the thing that has disrupted everybody and continues to, where I'm trying to go online and not be intentionally polarizing most of the time. They're there with an agenda to
Yeah.
tell falsehoods and dismantle the people, and I don't have time for that. Like, I'm gonna do whatever I can to fight that beast, and if it weren't for them, we would never be in this position to begin with, you know? If Justin Trudeau
Yeah.
didn't go on TV and say, "How long will we tolerate these people?" the people wouldn't have reacted in such a way. So it's the people that, quote, unquote, "lead us" and then fund the media that tell us to treat each other this horribly, and I'm trying to bring us back from the brink. I don't know if it's possible, but, you know, when you're arguing with someone and it's not just about policies and they're immediately going to, like, the name calling, like the far right, the Nazis, the extremists, and you're like, "Wow, okay, that's where we're starting from? This is okay, this is gonna be a tough conversation if this is where we're starting from," and the only thing that that does is make me wanna lash out at you. So, the whole
Yeah.
world just needs to know how to take a deep breath and actually look at things critically, but that's why the media is the problem. They think that they
Yeah.
are being critical because 'cause they've watched multiple sources of mainstream media, so they're like, "Well, this is the truth." I am a
Oh, the
critical thinker.
propaganda machine.
Mhm.
The every human needs to read the book 1984 and really understand that it is exactly what is happening. We are being thought policed, we are being conditioned. The media is one of the most evil propaganda machines, and they're all owned. When you look up most media sources, all the mainstream ones, they're all far left, owned by the same people with the same agenda, and I really do believe it is to deteriorate the West. I believe it's this
Mhm.
mega, mega, mega agenda. And I got to see it firsthand when I was canceled, right? Millions of people believe that I scam blind people. Like I'm in the Rolling Stones magazine, New York Times, New York Post, like
What?
every single magazine. And oh yeah, 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 yeah. What's wild is I had probably 20 different journalists reach out to me for my statement. I gave my sources, I gave my background, my credentials, all of my sources for my vision masterclass, just helping people see better. Because our eyes are like an organ just like anything else. Like really whole it was nothing even crazy. It was food and
Yeah.
nutrition, lifestyle, red light. It was basic. And every single article was the exact same. Minor iterations saying either I was non-responsive, I was incoherent, I couldn't even answer a simple question, I had no credentials, there were no sources given, and every article said the exact same thing, and they came out within a day of each other, one after another, after another, after another, saying the exact same thing all around the world. In South Africa, in Mexico, in Quebec, where I'm from, it was all the same article. And I got to see it. I was like, wow, this
Mhm.
is the biggest scam I have ever seen.
Yep.
And I'm like, it's all a lie.
I got to see
Yeah.
it during the convoy. I've seen it many times since. Another attack was when I was helping with the We Unify event. And the We Unify event in Victoria, they had they had vaccine people, they had health people, they had media people, education, and really they were just talking about the problems in Canada and how do we create solutions around it. They had pastors. They had David Charalambos. His organization is called Reaching People. How do you have peaceful dialogue with people that you disagree with? Those were the conversations, really like politics, health, media, peaceful dialogue. We tried as I was, responsible for media, we tried to get all sorts of left-leaning influencers on there, left-leaning media. They wouldn't come, and then we were painted as not only a right-wing extremist organization, even though they wouldn't show up, we were also painted as a anti-trans hate network, even though not
Yeah.
one speaker was talking about gender or trans ideology. Not like we couldn't have, not like that shouldn't have been on the table, but
Yeah.
actually no one was. And then that spread throughout all the different multiple media sources. Um, we are painted as an anti-trans, like, hate network. We were put on a CSIS watch list, all of us. I don't know if I'm still on that. Hundreds of trans protesters gathered around the event. They were inciting physical threats to us. We had to cancel different venues and move around. There was a bomb threat. Um, they didn't face anything, the people with bomb threats, but
Of
we
course,
were
they
facing
had the right to bomb.
$50,000. Yeah, they had the right to do that, and we were facing the
Yeah.
financial consequences, the media consequences, um,
Yeah.
and that's still going on today.
Yeah, well, nobody rallies like the trans and gay movement. And
Mhm,
if you want, it's like in high school. I remember in high school, if I was gonna like fight somebody, I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna get these guys on my side. I'm gonna recruit, and you get the craziest people, like the
mhm.
crazy-eyed people. You're like, I'm gonna grab these people, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna say that these people talk shit about these people, and then they're gonna back me up, and we're like,
yeah,
are we five? But that is what
yeah,
happened.
mhm,
Even when I got canceled, yeah, well, there are reasons why people think I'm a trans hater just as I believe that only a man can be a man, only a woman can be a woman, and I'm
mhm,
very public about that. I love all people, but, that's my stance. But with the whole vision thing, I had somebody from the Conspirituality podcast where they all really look at their profile pictures. They full on look like a bunch of pedophiles. One of the people joined my program under a fake name, fake email, recorded my program, and then shared it online, dubbing it essentially, saying, like, lying about everything that I said and being like, oh, in this part, she tells people to pour essential oils into their eyeballs to heal the blindness. And so they put out all these lies, which what fueled all of the media. And I got to see, wow, is this a systemic attack and lies and manipulation?
mhm,
And then the media was all on board with the same story. I'm like, "Ooh, there's a network here. This is deep and evil and juicy." And then they got all of the trans movement people. I was getting hundreds of messages a day being called a trans hater, even though I was healing people's, helping people heal their vision. It made no
mhm,
connection to me, but I got to see the whole little gang come all in. It was pretty
and
wild.
that's what I mean by I don't know if there's coming back from this because, like, in my brain, and the reason I even started the show, I was like, "Oh, people just don't have the information." Okay, well, once they have the information, then
Cute.
we can just solve this. This is easy. But the information isn't an issue. I had someone recently tell me that they couldn't vote conservative because of all the corruption. And I said, "Okay, well, I'm glad that that's a value of yours, like integrity. So let's look at all the corruption within the Liberal Party. Like, we can look at the SSC Lavalin scandal. We can look at the We Charity scandal. We can look at the CCP infiltration. We can look at Mark Carney's 103 conflicts of interest. Doesn't matter. Like, the truth is, it's not about like the thing, it's about you already made a choice.
Yeah.
I'm totally open to being wrong. I hope I'm wrong about probably almost everything that I talk about other than business. Um, I I'm so happy to be proven wrong, but I don't think a lot of people feel that way.
There's so much cognitive dissonance. There is, just radicalism as well, and what I've seen is people's identity gets wrapped up because our emotions and our identities have been weaponized. I
Mhm.
remember, again, during COVID, like, seeing it on buses in Canada. If you wanna be a good person and not kill grandma, get the vaccine. And I was like, "Of course, who wants to kill grandma? We love grandma. Of course we're gonna." And so the way that they manipulate people and weaponize their goodness and radicalize their identity, I don't know that there's coming back from this, and And actually, I'd love to start talking about Canada, because we're both Canadians. I Now this is gonna sound negative and pessimistic. I'm typically an optimistic person. However,
Mhm.
I think Canada is gonna sink so hard. I feel like it's going the exact same way as Venezuela. I feel like it's becoming more and more fascist, communist, all the things, the GDP, the economy. I don't see it changing personally, and I think it kinda has to crash and burn for people to wake up. Um, but that's my positive rosy take on it. I'm
Mhm.
curious, do you see, you're more involved in politics and you're probably more in the know. I'm just kinda watching as a little bit of a bitter spectator in the country. But what
Mhm.
do you think about Canada and maybe even the West? Or yeah, what's your take on, how everything is unfolding here?
Um, 10% of me thinks we can turn this around. 10% of me thinks Mark Carney will do the right thing. 10%. I always try and keep that window open. So if he's the Mark Carney of his book, we could be in trouble, but he's doing a lot of things like pretty counter to his book. He hasn't gotten us any good results yet. He's gone to 24 different countries. He hasn't actually like got us any deals. He totally weaponized the whole Trump scenario. Um, but what I think about him and our current leader is I think it's possible that he actually wants Canada to be profitable and he's not as far left extreme as I think. I think there's a possibility there. And I think what he's doing is he is stretching on this battle with Trump because he wants to get elected. Now, if he just opened up our resources and natural gas, his entire voting base would hate him and leave. We already saw that with the MOU with Daniel Smith. Some people are already quitting. He can't do that too soon. So
Yeah.
he's going to stretch out this battle with Donald Trump, knowing his 91% of investments are in the United States right now. I think there's a very good chance that he's actually business partners with Donald Trump, that this is all a scam, even like their fight, and like Trump's actually in it. And he's totally just manipulating Canadians so that they are so afraid of Trump that another election comes around and Mark Carney says, you know what? I'm sorry. Trump screwed us so bad. There's nothing else I can do for the country. I'm going to make this sacrifice. We have to let our oil and gas reserves up again. I think it was Doomberg who was talking about this. And that makes a lot of sense in my mind that there's a possibility that he's just stretching this out. And if he does that, if he actually opens it up, all right, I'm still not gonna like a liberal government, but, like, I am open to the idea that he actually does want Canada to be profitable. The thing that scares me more than anything is their censorship laws. The UK is our crystal ball. So just recently, they barged into a woman's bathroom. She was naked in the tub, and they arrested her because she had a text message that had the word faggot on it. Now, should anyone be using that language? No. Who's reading her text and arresting her for it? We have someone in Ireland that's going to prison for life for being transphobic. And the dystopian censorship bills that they're trying to pass in Canada will have podcasters like me jailed under what's currently written in them. So that's the thing that I worry about more than anything. And it's
Yeah.
not unique to Canada. It's happening in all Western nations. I hope not, but I see a real reality where we will be like China. And I've been trying to wrap my head around that. There are people in China that are happy. I hate to say it like that, but there are people in China that are happy. I don't want my country to be like that, but I think that's where they're trying to go. I see that as the most likely scenario. Very strict authoritarian thought and word policing. You won't have a choice
Yeah.
to use your tongue. The reason that they're flooding so many immigrants into Canada is they're trying to build up the economy and the GDP that way. So they'll push the people in and then everything is forced to build around them, which I kind of like. I can understand their train of thinking, even though it's a disaster right now because we don't have the infrastructure, the housing, the healthcare to support it. So they are practically trying to do things to lift us up economically. But I'm not absolutist about any of it. I'm just watching. I see this horrendous situation unfolding. I see a possibility for things being okay, but I also see this very
Yeah.
dark dystopian thing happening as well here.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I feel very similarly. I'm smart enough to know that I do not know. I really don't. I don't know if Trump and Carney are besties, making deals, laughing at all of us fools. Possibly, probably.
Mhm,
Like what I just know, my fundamental belief is that everything we've been taught and everything we're told is a lie. And so I'm open. I'm open to Canada resurrecting and going into glory days. I'm open to things working out.
mhm.
However, if I had to bet my life on it, I would probably say that we are going down the China path and that
Yep,
censorship is very real. It's already being written into our laws. We already don't get news in Canada. So that's the way that I see it, or in news sources online. That's the way I see it going. And I'm wondering, for me, I'm very much in my exit plan. I've already renounced my residency before and had residency in Dubai and built companies there. And I'm very much heavily invested in getting out of this country and building a
mhm.
commune somewhere a little bit less insane. But what about you? I know that you are already almost off grid. You're financially set. You're doing your thing. You have your investments. But what about for
Yeah,
people that are listening to this and they're like, Karla, Sam, SOS, help me
mhm.
out. How to prepare? Even though I might hold on to the possibility that it gets better, like what should I be doing to set myself up even a little bit better so that I'm better positioned than I am now?
100%. I'm gonna speak to that. I'm gonna say one more thing first that I'm doing to try and improve our situation, and this is gonna really make people on the right really mad, but it needs to be said. The biggest danger to people on the right that believe that way, uh, is themselves. The right eats itself alive. It's the nature of the ideology. We're very independent thinkers. We hold our politicians to account, but we do way more holding people to account than we do uplifting the party, which means the conservatives split into five different side parties. We have like the separatists, we have all these other groups, and it's never going to work that way. Like it's just not realistic. It's not gonna happen. We keep kicking everybody out. We're eating each other alive, and like, if you notice, the left always sticks together, and that's not a good thing either, right? But they stick together no matter what. They are not fracturing. They're not splitting votes. Yes, vote splitting is a thing. Whereas the right,
Yeah.
we're just like we don't need the left to beat us. We're just beating up ourselves and fracturing. So I do want to say that I think like the Alberta separation is a big problem. I think they're just hurting themselves. But as far as like, okay, let's say these things are happening and now we're in trouble. Now what do we do? And we can't glue the country back together and we can't actually make a plan. Then what? There is no perfect plan. And anyone that preaches to you that they have the answers. Bitcoin people can be like, this is the only way. You have to get out of Canada. You have to go to the States. You have to go to El Salvador. You need this investment. You need like there's no perfect solution. Even to the
Yeah.
point where like I basically have a commune. Like uh, we say all the time, if they're like the entire electrical grid in the world went down, like we're going to be the family that survives. My husband's going to go kill a wolf and skin it and make clothes for us, and we'll live in a wigwam. Like we can do that. A fire can rip through and take all of our land. Like nothing is finite. It's foolish to think like that. The Bitcoin people, right? Like I'm a Bitcoiner. I have it too. Like they can shut off the internet. Like everything can happen to you. Everything. So what you have to look at is what is the best case scenario for you? And for some of us, that's going to mean leaving the country and finding aligned community in Costa Rica where you can farm and you have neighbors. For some of us, that's going to be doubling down on Bitcoin. You're like, no, I'm going all in on finances and I'm just going to be a digital nomad. Okay, great. That's for you. We're not leaving. We're not leaving until I'm about to go to prison. That's the thing that's going to make me leave. There's a new censorship bill and Karla's going to jail. Then we would move. We have an acreage, we have airplanes. All of our friends are of the same mindset, have the same skills. It doesn't really get better than this out here.
Yeah.
And I think
Right.
that's what people actually need to be a sovereign mind. We need to detach from thinking that we know everything. You have to be
Mm.
adaptable. For me, I think the only thing that's real is my faith in Jesus. That is the only thing that is stable, not money, not a house. I do the external sovereign things. We have Bitcoin, we have gold, I got the online business, we have properties, we got all that. But I know all of that can disappear overnight. So for me, faith is really the only thing that's important, and there's different ways out of this, but none of them are perfect. El Salvador is a cool country. It's not perfect. Moving to the
Yeah.
States, you'll probably make more money. They might have a civil war. And we need to let go of the idea that we can escape these problems. I don't think there's an escape. I don't. So
Yeah.
you have to look at where can you sustain yourself for the longest? Where's
Mm.
your community? Where's most practical for you to get more money and use it
Yeah.
well? And that's going to be really
Yeah.
individual.
Yeah, that's so well said. It's so well said because what works for you and what works for me, what works for our listeners, people, everybody's different. And I always say, like, authenticity is the highest frequency. Find what's right for you. Right? Find what works for you. And your equation, your recipe is going to be a little bit different. What I do love, though, what you've shared is you are very diversified in the mechanisms of sovereignty. And for me, I've been so double down on my own business, as have you with yours, and
Mhm.
which is of helping other people. And I think that that is always what it comes down to for me is how can I be generating my own income? How can I be sovereign in that way where it's really my purpose and my passion? How can I be doing that? Because that's something that I can take with me. Even if
Mhm.
the internet shuts down, we will trade. Even if, whatever, if I get shut down online, I am in person. That's something that's really important to me. And I
Yep.
do diversify as well. We have property and, precious assets. And I'm very bullish on XRP and Bitcoin as well.
Mhm.
But so I think that having those things in place is important. And like you said, all of that can be taken away in
Mhm.
a minute. All my stocks, my bank accounts, whatever. But what has carried me through is that faith. It's I believe and I trust that I am taken care of, that everything is always working out,
Mhm.
and always working out for my eventual, inevitable highest joy. There is a plan unfolding, and to come back to my center, to not try to focus on the past and what was, not try to fixate on the future and think I know it all because I don't,
Yep.
and just trust I'm going to be guided. It's going to work out and do the best that I can. Not get stuck in anger or sadness
Mhm.
or fear and complacency, but just be as intelligent, intellectually, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and just do the very best that I can to figure this out for myself and to help other people. And what you said about your community around you, I think that is the thing that we absolutely need to double and triple down on is being surrounded with like-minded, like-souled people. The people that get you, that see you, that resonate with you, and that got your back in case, we're walking into the zombie apocalypse because we very well
Yeah.
maybe. Having those people around you, it just transforms everything.
I really hope we're not going to zombie apocalypse. That stuff's scary. I watch those movies sometimes just to like, all right,
I
what
know
what
what
do I
you
need to
said.
prep for?
I watched Warm Bodies. That's the most zombie apocalypse thing where, like, they've revived. But, well, okay, talking about zombie apocalypse, and I know we got a couple more minutes here if we can keep you, but what do
Yeah.
you think? Because you talked about Jesus, you talked about the Bible.
Mhm.
Do you think we're in end times?
Kind of feels like that. It kind of feels like that because of I call it like the white pill awakening. People everywhere are waking up to Jesus. I have like old Sletter friends from Whistler that like were cocaine dealers messaging me about this, and I remember my husband once saying, "Well, that makes sense. When people are scared, they like turn to religion." And I'm like, "Mm-mm, it's not that,
Mm,
because that would be a private decision."
yeah.
You have people like Sean Zimmerman risking, like, his entire platform to just go, like, full JC online, and, like, people are they're risking their lives for this decision.
Yeah.
Like, actually, like, in
Yeah.
other countries, we're seeing Christians being murdered everywhere. I think it's very, very, very real. It never felt real to me as a 20-year-old. I remember wanting to try that back then, and it never felt real. I went down, like, the Eastern wisdom path forever, and it just
Yeah.
Christianity didn't feel real. Um, I'm just seeing things, and I'm hearing things and experiencing things that are just undeniably real. I mean, the Bible says that no one knows when it's end times.
There will be signs. It will
There
not
will
come
be
like a
signs.
thief in the night. Like, there are signs that we can see. It does say that too. So I feel like, sorry to jump in there. I feel like nobody
No.
really knows, but all of the signs and all of the gospels, what they say to look out for, even the fact that we just hit we're exactly 7 years away from Jesus's 2,000-year crucifixion.
Yeah,
Like, 2,000 years ago in 7 years. Like, there's really a lot of biblical things with the temples in Israel being rebuilt and everything happening in Mark of the Beast, digital ID, like,
Mark of the Beast is huge.
this really feels like what is being taught about in the Bible, and I'm reading it with my own eyes, looking at it and being like, "Whoa."
Yep.
There's something, and I feel like this mass awakening of Christianity that happened in me, it's happening in my friends, in my communities, my family. It's spreading for a reason, and it's being invoked and evoked through us, and yeah, I feel like there's a lot of potency there, and I recommend if anyone's listening to maybe, tune into this a little bit more if you've been curious or having some feelings
Mhm,
about this. Start to learn more about Jesus Christ and the Gospels and what was said. Maybe don't start with the Old Testament, but start with
mhm.
the New Testament, start with the Gospels, start with what was recorded about Jesus, and yeah, there's a lot to uncover there.
I just started an online Bible study every Monday, and I'm starting in, like, a very soft place, reading this external text called When You Pray, and it's just about praying. It's just about deepening your personal relationship, and I think that's, like, a very safe place to start, a good place to start. You're right, there are signs. We wanna watch what's happening with Turkey, specifically in the Middle East. That will be a big sign when Turkey starts getting more involved, but there's
Yeah,
those negative signs, but when I see things like a bunch of teenagers on a college campus erupting for
yeah.
7 days of prayer and worship. I was smoking weed in the back alley when I was like, that thought, there would not have been enough cool Christians or media influence on me ever that could have ever made me do that as a young
Yeah,
kid. All of a sudden, they're like, "We want this, we feel this is real." And really what
yeah,
woke everybody up was the evil. We saw the evil
yeah,
and we said, "Oh, if that's real, this other side is real too," because it is so evil what's going on right now.
yeah, in every direction, totally.
Yep.
I'm into that. I have a
Mhm.
question for you to close this out. Imagine that you were from another planet, okay? So you're on, like, this alien, board of directors on another planet, and you are being selected to come down to Earth to be the president of the Earth. And you have the ability to completely influence the earth. Like, what you say is gospel, what you say is going to happen on this planet. If you could influence us to choose you to be this person, right? Like, you're there, you're interviewing for this, you feel like you're going to get the job, but there's, like, maybe another candidate or two, and you're
Yep.
here to give your pitch on what you would do to the planet. And you maybe have, like, 1 to 3 minutes. What would be your campaign for this earth?
Mm. Well, first of all, it's gonna have to be a dictatorship. There's no council tearing down my decisions. I can fix it, but I want full power going in.
Yes, get it, baby, of course. Okay, full power granted. Tell us,
Full
almighty dictator,
power.
what is it?
Wow, it's a tough question. This is maybe gonna make people mad, but we have to go back to Judeo-Christian principles. It doesn't mean that you have to be a Christian. There's a very good book called Fighting for the Soul of Canada, I believe it's called, and it's just saying when everything was governed based on Judeo-Christian beliefs, no matter your belief set, you were better off. You were more profitable, prosperous, peaceful. That is the way. Because like Russell Brand said, humans are like we're designed to worship. And
Yeah.
people thought we could remove religion. And what got inputted in its place was wokeism and Marxism, and all these things took place. So it's not actually true that we can live without religion. We have to have a governing set of principles that we believe in, that we can bond in. And obviously, you're not going to get people in Muslim countries wanting that ideology. But if we just look at in history, what countries did better based on what set of rules, what set of baseline morality, who did better? It was those countries. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about forceful conversion. I don't care what beliefs people choose to have, but I think that's how the world or a country should be governed. It's like the golden rule. It's personal responsibility. It's service and taking care of other people, believing in a creator that is good and just. It's like common sense principles.
Yeah, so well said. All right, universe, let's elect Carla as the dictator of our world. I feel like that was
I'll be a
it's
nice
fun to think about,
dictator.
right?
Okay. I'll be nice.
And I'm like, "And I'm getting rid of mosquitoes as well while we're at it. It might mess up the ecosystem, but they're gone. Microtoxins, bye-bye. Plastic underwear, done."
Yep.
I love
Done.
that. Done. Is there anything that's really on your heart that you want people to hear, that you want people to know, that's bursting out of you, or anything else that you wanna leave us with today?
We need to have conversations, and I think if every single person could just open the doorway to the idea that they are 10% wrong and maybe the other person in front of them is 10% right, we could start getting somewhere. And that would break some harmful ideas and relationships right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish that everyone could learn NVC by Marshall Rosenthal, like nonviolent communication. If we could just have a little bit more emotional intelligence and be able to be
Mhm.
non-reactive and not throw insults and be condescending and demeaning and so immature, if we could just be evolved humans, self-regulate, and actually have open-hearted, open-minded discussions with people, there
For
would be
sure.
no war on this planet.
Yeah.
But of course, that's not taught. That's not taught to us. We don't know how to regulate ourselves. But yeah, I agree that having these kind of conversations and conversations of like-minded people, but also people on the other side of the aisle, right? The other side of perspectives, but to really just hold space to hear them and
Yeah.
consider that, well, maybe we don't know everything. Maybe the narcissism gets to be toned down a little bit. Yeah, that would make such a huge difference.
Yeah. Let's just
Yeah.
honestly talk about the outcome. Let's stop
Yeah.
arguing about the ideology in the first place. We have enough evidence. We can just
Yeah.
look at, okay, what happened? Okay, last time we did this, we got World War II. All right, let's not do that. The last
Yeah.
time we did this, a bunch of people had heart attacks. All right. Let's not do that. It seems like the one thing that nobody's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, reflect and redirect. It's a very good principle. If you keep doing the same thing over and over, expect a different outcome. We know it's insanity. But let's just take a pause, take a breather, zoom out. Be like,
Mhm.
is this actually working? Is this actually serving me? Or maybe do we need to readjust and redirect into a different pathway?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
So well. If people want to follow you, reach out to you, connect with you, where are the best ways for them to become besties with you?
Probably the easiest place is Instagram at Karla Joy Treadway. Karla is with a K. And the podcast platforms are at The Sovereign Sphere. So YouTube, X, Spotify, Apple, all of those places.
Amazing. So we'll be sure to link that below. And Karla, I just want to thank you so much for giving us your time, your wisdom, your joy, your brilliance, and having this conversation because it's one that people really need to hear now more than ever. And I just want to show you so much love and appreciation and tell you how grateful I am for you and your time.
Oh, I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Samantha.
You're so welcome. And for everybody listening, make sure that you connect with Karla. Go follow her. She has such great content, such amazing things. And until then, my friends, stay sovereign. Mwah!